Sige. Wala bang MC sa inyo? Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it went well. I had promised Senator Trillanes this conversation a long time ago, so I came here to fulfill my promise.
Did you give him legal advice?
The conversation between the two of us, I hope we keep it confidential, so it's better that way.
Has it something to do with politics?
Well, can I deliver some statements? Yeah, thank you, thank you. You know, I've been listening to what the government has been saying, and that means the president and his cabinet secretaries. And after listening yesterday especially, I have come to the conclusion that not much was useful to the reasonable mind. In other words, what was really needed yesterday was a basis for the armed forces of the Philippines to move in a more constitutionally compliant manner. Instead of helping them, yesterday's statements from the Malacanang only reinforced the sense that the AFP must do independent soul searching. In other words, the armed forces of the Philippines must remember to look beyond the term of this president. Remember that the Constitution is its North Star, that they are, by the terms of the Constitution, the protector of the people, and that they will brook nothing that is violative of that Constitution or the applicable laws of the Philippines. So it was refreshing, actually, for me to hear the statement of Secretary Eduardo Año of the Department of Interior and Local Government, where he said that he proposes, and I found it a very wise proposal, that should an arrest warrant be issued by a court, then it would be preferable that the Senate President encourage Senator Trillanes to turn himself over to the civilian court instead of the Philippine National Police coming to fetch and arrest him, in recognition of the fact that he is a duly elected senator occupying a high-level position. It was a gracious gesture on Secretary Año's part, and I am encouraged by the fact that he remembers quite vividly the Constitution, and that it is the long-term interests of the Filipino people that we must also. A similar assurance should also ensue from the armed forces of the Philippines. They must remember that the financial benefit that Secretary Roque was touting as the reason that the soldiers should obey President Duterte, even though that order is questionable, the financial benefit that Secretary Roque was emphasizing indicates two things. First, in Secretary Roque's mind, the AFP is swayed by material self-interest and not genuine service to the Filipino people. That's very, very disturbing. And second, when President Duterte said, o kung may maiibigay sa inyo si Trillanes, doon na kayo. He is basically saying that those benefits come from him. No, Mr. President. Those allowances and salary increases come not from you. They do not come from any politician. They come from hard-earned taxpayers' money. And I have noticed that the president has a tendency to use the possessive pronoun my to describe the military, the police. I hope he does not come to the point where he says the taxpayers' money is his as well. The idea that we should all propound and emphasize to the AFP is that the people are looking up now to the AFP. Does the AFP remember its allegiance and its oath to the Filipino people? Years ago, a large group of our people were so encouraged by the transformation roadmap of the AFP. At last, there was soul searching, and the AFP was categorically laying down the principle that never again will they violate the Constitution, never again will they allow themselves to be instruments of oppression, instruments of politicians. They will be on the side of the people. The people are asking that the same kind of message be conveyed to them today. And I think that everyone is quite well aware that people will resist the imposition of martial law. I do not think that the AFP will turn its back on the people. I do not think that the AFP will allow itself to be used by political self-interest. The AFP knows that it is not the tool of politicians. The AFP, I believe, will look beyond the term of any president to look at the long-term welfare, not just of the individual soldier on the field, but of every Filipino. Every one of us looks forward to the time when we can hold our heads up high again and say that we have the best professional military in the world, that they have thrown their lot with the people. So that is what I have been observing for the past week and a half when this entire controversy has been rolling. I'm now ready to take your questions.
Would you give any advice kay Senator Trillanes? Any legal advice?
We shared thoughts and hopes for the future, but specific trends of those thoughts, I'll not tell you now.
Are you going to help him legally? I mean, as non-medical counsel?
I have not gone back to legal practice. I am still in the period of getting more a broader and deeper picture of where our country is going forward and what my role in that future is.
Ma'am said you believe in AFP, but what can you say about the risk of AFP arresting Senator Trillanes? The reason why he opts to stay here in the Senate premises?
The AFP, I guess, is going through some processing, internal processing. They should not allow those who have the bent to serve political interests win the debate internally. Those who are loyal to the Constitution must stand their ground, and they must prevail.
Any comment doon sa naging ruling ng Supreme Court sa petition ni Senator Trillanes?
The one part that I wish to highlight is the fact that when the court takes judicial notice of the fact that the AFP and the President has expressed the sense that they will await the issuance of a judicial issued warrant, that is the point that is very, very important. That is why it is most unfortunate that Secretary Roque would say that there is no legal impediment to effecting an arrest. But in the same sentence, say, it doesn't mean that they will arrest him. Yet before the sentence ends says, but they can arrest him. So, you know, the way they structure the thought process is alarming by itself. That means there is an objective of confusing the narrative. The narrative is pretty straightforward. The Supreme Court has already called attention to the fact that there are these public undertakings that are consistent with what the Constitution requires, which is no arrest without a court-issued warrant. That constitutional prohibition plus the undertaking, and then the Supreme Court saying, look, we put on paper that we take your statements for what they are. And then the Cabinet Secretary saying, throw them all off, out the window. That is dangerous. I don't think the intention was to help, but to obfuscate.
What are some of the scenarios you're looking at, considering tomorrow yung hearing doon sa granting of alias warrant of arrest?
Well, I really don't know what facts they will lay down before the RTC other than the revocation order and the certification. But that certification by itself is so easily debunkable by all the testimonies of the officials who were involved in the processing of the amnesty application. So it will be very ridiculous. Maybe the DOJ prosecutor will pull in the theory that we heard yesterday, where an amnesty order, specifically each and every one, has to be signed by the President himself. I think everyone who understands the nature of amnesties, who understands administrative law, knows that this is pure hogwash.
But what's your take on this contentious issue about double job or deed? Will it attach in the event that new charges will be filed against Senator Trillanes?
You call it a contentious issue?
Yeah.
I think you have already.
It's subject to various interpretations.
Well, the nature of an amnesty is it puts an end to the story. In other words, when the President and much of the security officials were in Israel, when this was started by the publication of the Amnesty Proclamation, I kept counsel, kept quiet, because I thought that the AFP being there and apparently being surprised itself by the proclamation needed time to recalibrate its position and understand what is happening. True enough, in the following days, fingers were being pointed at different officials as to who originated the idea. There was really confusion. And so they had to take a time to breathe in and assess the situation. I think they have come to the realization now that what President Duterte did by not consulting even the military is very dangerous. In other words, kumbaga pinahamak ni President Duterte ang AFP. Paano? Biruin mo namang buksan ang ideya na lahat ng mga amnestiya na naibigay na sa libu-libong sundalo na nagkaroon ng problema sa batas. Hindi lang sa time ni Cory, ngunit sa kaninunuan pa natin nung nagkaroon ng mga aklasan sa hukbong sandatahan. Lahat pala yan ay maaaring buksan. Ibig sabihin, yung amnestiya na ang alam ko ay nakuha mismo ni General Carlito Galvez Pag nagbago na po ang administrasyon, ay pwede na po bang buksan. Gayon din po ang amnestiya ni Senator Gringo Honasan. At marami pa. Ang implikasyon po nito ay napakalalim at nakakabahala. Ibig sabihin po, imbis na buo ang sandatahang lakas, ay magkakawatak-watak sila at laging may agam-agam na ang nasarhan na ay maari pang buksan. Malagim po ang maaring mangyari kung sana ho ay pinag-usapan yan. Marami nang salamat ho. Hinihingi na po ako dun sa ibang appointment ko. Salamat po.
Habang tayo sa kabila.